Welcome, 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 everybody. I know that most people are not going to get and catch this live. Hopefully, I will get some people to watch a little bit later, though, because I think that this is going to be a very, very important topic. It's something that I have talked about, kind of, sort of. If you guys been paying attention to any of my past channels, I have actually was one of the ones that written to or wrote a letter to tell the Black Caucus off about how I felt their whole premise has changed to being about immigrants. And now I see and understand that the NAACP is also on that, and every other so-called Black American based organization, entity that has been around for a very, very long time, have all betrayed the premise of protecting and uplifting and keeping the plight of Black Americans onwardly going towards what we need to be doing. It seems that they have sold out a very, very long time, and many of us have not been paying attention. I have been paying attention. By the grace of God, I was given the ability of discerning stuff, and I have been recognizing that our voices are literally being hijacked by foreigners, by Pan-Africans, by Africans, by anybody else but us. And this delineation movement, which a lot of people want to put it all on Tariq Nasheed or ADOS, it was bound to happen sooner than later. It was bound that we would start paying attention to different things that were going on around us, and we were going to put two and two together. And it just so happened that it all collectively started happening in the last 5 to 6 years. I've noticed an uptick, especially this year. And I'm very happy that all my efforts and conversations are not going in the garbage can anymore, that everything that I've said has come to light, and that, luckily the delineation is right in sync with deportations as well. Is showcasing who is who and why we need to collectively, I believe, as Indigenous Black Americans, I like to call us, or Indigenous American Blacks, others like to call themselves FBA or ADOS or Black Indians. There's an array of different titles that we would like to call ourselves, but one thing's for certain: we do not want to have anyone call us anything that we're not calling ourselves. That's the key thing to remember, is that everybody that's on this delineation is refusing for outsiders and for other agendas and other people that have nothing to do with our purpose and our plight and our benefit. We don't want them trying to tamper with our identity any longer. And this is why the delineation right now is very potent on social media. A lot of people I'm finding, I've been observing for a number of weeks now, where there's just so many people so concerned about what we're doing. And the whole world literally is going to pieces. It's blown up into shreds and smithereens right now. You got Jamaica, on the verge of just disaster. It is disastrous over there. Haiti, Sudan, Tanzania, other places, all over the place. There are so many other topics that should take over conversating so much obsessively about who are those Black American or Black people that built and helped cultivate everything related to the United States after all these generations. And I have noticed So many other people that are not of this land are trying to undermine and hijack the narrative that was meant for our legacy, our ancestors, our bloodline. And everybody is scrambling to try to take away from what we have ultimately helped to benefit these other people. And instead of them being appreciative that they have gone this far for this long off of the vapors of what we have accomplished, they have sought out to try to have revenge and to try to undermine. And that comes into what I'm noticing with the NAACP, this Reverend Corinne Mack. She made mention recently on a live. I can only catch a little portion of what she said, but I want to play it, and I want to kind of follow up what the NAACP was about and what they are about today. And from what I'm recognizing, they're not about anything reminiscent over protecting and benefiting Black Americans, the people that formulated or helped formulate the institution itself, the NAACP. It has now been hijacked by other mindsets that have nothing to do with benefiting us any longer. So it is rendered useless at this point. It is a detriment to us at this point. And this video is going to showcase that fact. What's up, your favorite nurse? Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. You said I got notifications. Glad to see you're on this evening. I'm happy to be here. I kept going back and forth because I know I like to come on Sunday, but I might not feel the way I'm feeling right now. So since I have the energy, I wanted to go ahead and just give my two piece about how I've been feeling. You said also I left a little. I felt like we were at my youngest son basketball game this evening. Just wanted to come through and show some love, and we'll definitely catch the replay. Oh, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you for showing up. Every little bit helps. I really appreciate it. I will, showcase what I came to show. What caught my attention primarily is this Reverend Corinne Mack, and I want to show off what she had to say, coming from another YouTuber. Let me find it right now. Let me get that real quick. All right. It is. Of course, I had it. And let me see. I got to start all over. But yes, so-called Reverend Corinne Mack, and all the affiliates that are listening in relation to her and the NAACP, let me just put y'all on notice. None of y'all represent Black Americans, not one iota. We do not respect your leadership or so-called leadership. You are leading us absolutely nowhere. We are kind of caught in a hard place behind what you guys have chosen to do, and what you have chosen to do is grab the flag of immigration, and you are lying on the historic advantages that our ancestors have bestowed upon America for ourselves, that have been hijacked by everybody else. And this is why the deportations and the immigration situation is so important at this time. And it just seems to be like everybody is using everything connected to us to advance their so-called legitimacy in their arguments for immigration, illegal, and everything else. And people are acting like Black Americans should not have anything to say when it comes to having an opinion about how we feel. And that is unacceptable. And this is why I do these platforms that I do, to spread awareness that there is not a monolith of Black people who are in support of Democrats, and the shills that are definitely a part of the NAACP. They do not represent Black Americans in the year of 2025. They have not represented us in a very long time, to be frank with everybody listening. And the thing is that we never recognized that they weren't, we didn't recognize they were this bad until all this stuff with immigration has come out, with this illegal immigration has come out. And now people are showing their true colors, and they're letting it be known what they're on. And now that we see what they're on, and what they're attempting to do is to dismantle the significance of who Black Americans are to this country. They're trying to liken us to being immigrants, and we are not. We are not people that chose to come over here or escaped another country to come somewhere to seek refuge and comfort and economic benefits off of a country that they just came to, and they didn't earn anything. They didn't put no blood, sweat, and tears to come over here. The people that should get all the benefit for the Amendment of 14 and for the civil rights that were fought, and for everything that comes with this country that laid the foundation, are Black Americans or Indigenous American Blacks. Somehow people have undercut us out of our own plight and our own benefit, and now they're rallying to unify other immigrant groups over us by using our talking points about our plight. And this is what the NAACP, this is what I want to showcase. This comes from the Black conservative perspective. His platform caught the clip of what she's about to say, and I want you guys to take particular notice to what she's saying. But again, all this is going to be fair use under the Copyright Act of 1976 for education and for information, also entertainment, all the above, not meaning to impose, but to inform on what is really going on around us concerning Black Americans. And that is the vantage point that I'm taking most importantly today, because a lot of what people are doing is basically going against us to uplift other groups over us. And they're using our so-called people and our ethnic group to do it. And that's what makes it more sickening as it goes. So let me just play this real quick. Fair use.
Here, we have one of the leaders of the NAACP in Charlotte. She is boohoo whining, crying, Trump is Hitler, because of these mass deportations coming to Charlotte.
I want to start with reminding everyone within the sound of our voices that it was immigrants who built this country.
So out the gate, this woman has declared herself to be an African American in another video that I will play a little bit later. Although I don't recognize myself as that, I try to look her up to see if she had any other immigrant background, and it does not say that she does have an immigrant background, but nonetheless, she is declaring with a position of a president, I believe, of the NAACP, that Black Americans are equivalent and are just as immigrant as actual defined immigrants by the definition of coming from another landmass to seek a better life by choice. My ancestors, which are many of them, have been on this soil for hundreds of years. And even if you did have one come from Africa, that was hundreds of years ago. And that person has been mixed with other races of people throughout generations, which made me who I am today, which I would like to refer to myself as being a multiracial person who does not put and exalt an African over me because of some type of genetic connection of 500 years old ago. I don't do that. Other people that claim to be Pan-Africans or claim to be a part of the Democrats that are shilling all over the place, or are immigrants themselves, are the ones declaring to put Africa and Africans over themselves, which is very dumb and stupid. And this is why these types of people right here, such as her, cannot represent Black Americans any longer. This is why we have to continue to demand to have our own identity separate from these people, because they are trying to erase our ethnicity here in America to have everybody else feast off of us and capitalize off of us, and then basically springboard over us and then reign over us. These people are obviously into wanting to dominate over us, and they're using our own people of our ethnic group who have sold out a long time ago, and now they're creating this made up storyline that we're all immigrants and we're all in this together. We are not all in this together. We are not immigrants. I do not care about the plight of immigrants. I care about the plight of Black Americans that are from America generations, long time. That is my focus. That's who I am first and foremost concerned with. And there's nothing wrong with me being concerned about the people of America, because ain't nobody else concerned about us. So if I don't do it, who the fuck will do it? Nobody. And this is why I try to do these videos in hopes to shake and wake up the Black Americans who are so quick to praise Africans and to claim to be Pan-African and to basically submit yourself under their thumb. And you're bowing down to them when you are trying to place them over you. So let's listen to what she had to say again real quick. Let me go back.
So with that being said, more meltdowns here. We have one of the leaders of the NAACP in Charlotte. She is boohoo whining, crying, Trump is Hitler, because of these mass deportations coming to Charlotte.
I want to start with reminding everyone within the sound of our voices that it was immigrants who built this country. Africans who were enslaved, who had no opportunity for freedom or even freedom of thought, were in fact immigrants. Now,
and it's very dangerous for somebody that's supposedly having some position of power to call herself to declare what she's trying to classify us as. And we did not, and we will not give you, Corinne Mack, that position over us and having authority over our identity. I denounce you, you wicked, demented bitch. Okay, that's what you are. You're a demented, wicked bitch. You do not have the authority to tell me that I am an immigrant because it's easier for you to transition into talking about illegal immigrants coming to this country. Ain't nobody siding with you for this. And this is why I think that it's probably going to be another letter that I need to write. And I will be probably including a letter to you alongside of Trump, because you are triggering me. Okay, if you want to classify your bitch ass as an immigrant, you talk about you and your ancestors are immigrants, but you do not dare open your beaky ass mouth to declare that we are immigrants, because we're not taking on that jacket, because we're not immigrants. Do you see Black Americans being deported anywhere? No. So why would you open your god awful mouth to try to say that we're immigrants, like the people being deported back to their countries? We're not them people. And this is why you guys are pissed and upset about us not going to protest and declare unity and alliance with immigrants, because it does not benefit us to do anything with immigrants. They are here to compete against us. They are here to replace us. It does not make sense for us to link up with people that are here to compete and replace. So I denounce you, Corinne Mack, and I hope you get this video. In fact, I think I will try to tag you in this video, so that you get an understanding of what's to come. You don't represent us. I don't give a damn if you are the president of the NAACP. In my opinion, the funds should be stripped from this entity. I hope Trump gets a clue, a glimpse of this video, and get the idea that if these entities are not a benefit to the Americans, to the Indigenous Black Americans, then what is the point and purpose of spending money to your organization if it's only to help out other groups of people that are not even American? That doesn't make any sense. But let's get back to this video.
We're talking about immigration as if it's something over there or over there. But the harm to every immigrant is harm to every one of us. In this country, we want to believe that...
Again, it's not harm to Black Americans. That's why they're mad. In fact, I believe that the TPS, let me see, there was an article that I wanted to read real quick. There's changes going on with the TPS, and other organizations are being terminated, or they have been applied as of late. Let me go back and see if I can find the latest. Hold on. But yeah, this stuff right here has nothing to do with Black Americans. That's May. And she's trying to say that if it affects them, it affects us. Where? How? This doesn't have anything to do with Black Americans at all. Let me see, TPS. Let's see. Okay, so the so-called U.S. protected status is set to expire for many groups of people, such as Venezuelans, Haitians, Cubans. Let me play an older video of this real quick. Again, trying to liken us to being immigrants is very disrespectful and is very angering to us listening to this mess. But listen to this latest right here.
All new at 6. In a matter of hours, more than 250,000 Venezuelans will lose protection from being deported. Their temporary protected status, otherwise known as TPS, is set to expire on Friday before midnight. CBS News Miami's Yvonne Taylor spoke to a woman with TPS who says she's worried for her future.
These 260,000 Venezuelans will lose their status, their work permit, and their driver's license. And for the first time while putting together this story, people that I'd reach out to for an interview did not respond. And two of them told me, I can't talk.
My family and myself, we are desperate because this happened so fast.
This Venezuelan woman with TPS, and who we will call Maria, spoke to us under the condition of anonymity.
I feel persecuted. I am shocked. I don't know how my next week will be.
She is one of 260,000 Venezuelans who live and work in the United States as beneficiaries of temporary protected status. But Friday before midnight, they will become undocumented immigrants.
Scared because I see in the news that ICE will take you.
On October 3rd, the Supreme Court sided with the federal government and ruled that 350,000 Venezuelans should lose their deportation protection. The decision will now affect another 260,000 whose TPS expires November 7th. Maria and thousands like her do not have any other legal protection in the U.S.
So in addition to the Venezuelans, we have also the Haitians and the Jamaicans. Of course, the Melissa hurricane just recently happened October 28th. And there is Letitia James, who is the New York State Attorney General, who is trying to go to bat for Jamaicans that are having this TPS protection like taken from them. And as of November 17th, this New York Attorney General Letitia James today called on the federal government to extend the TPS to Jamaicans in the wake of the devastation of the Hurricane Melissa, which struck the island again on October 28th. It has killed at least 45 people. In a letter to the Department of Homeland Security, Attorney General James urges the administration to immediately grant TPS for Jamaicans. TPS allows eligibility individuals in the United States who are unable to return to their home countries to safely live and work in the United States. So again, what happens with Jamaicans does not have no effect on Black Americans. What happens to Haitians has no effect on Black Americans. What happens to Venezuelans or any other immigrant has nothing to do with Black Americans. So for this Corin Mack, so-called reverend, to squawk about us being immigrants, again, is very disrespectful. It's undermining us as a collective of people. We are not immigrants. That's why we're not being deported. But for her to use that language, it's basically slapping us and putting us to the back of the bus, telling us to shut up and continue on pretending that we're just like other immigrants, and we are not. This is why I say to anyone that's listening that knows to get a hold of our president to kind of put in his ear that what is the benefit of the NAACP if they are not actually being utilized to assist Black Americans any longer. You know, when I look up the NAACP, let me look up what that was about. I think they have been around since the early 1900s. Let me see. They were having a purpose of benefiting our group of people. The NAACP historical purpose was to ensure the political, educational, social and economic equality of all people and to eliminate race-based discrimination. Well, it wasn't for all people, it was for our people. But now they even changed the meaning of what the NAACP historic purpose was. It was for us. It was founded in 1909. Of course, immigrants by and large weren't over here in 1909 for them to be utilized for all people. So for that to be placed there was done on purpose. Okay, its mission was to make the promises of the 13th, 14th, and 15th amendments a reality. Again, immigrants weren't here during those amendments. So for them to this is an AI definition, maybe that's why. But it was for our benefit. It was for our betterment. Everything that we went through collectively as so-called Negro people of America. And now it's been flipped and hijacked to include every other group, which basically has excluded us out of the equation altogether. This is why I feel like the NAACP should be defunded, because they are not out here doing what they were created to do. They are now, in my opinion, shilling for the Democrats. They have been bought, they have been sold. This is what they're on, and this is what they're into, and this is not anything good for Black Americans moving forward. So why support them? So let me go back to this lady, because I want to show y'all what she had to say years ago after talking this malarkey right here. Again, her likening us to immigrants is very insulting, because we're not immigrants. And for her to classify us as immigrants is basically saying, in other words, for us to shut up, sit in the corner while she works on other groups of people over us. That's what that basically means. And that's why the NAACP should not be supported any longer by Black Americans.
Who were enslaved, who had no opportunity for freedom or even freedom of thought, were in fact immigrants. Now, we're talking about immigration as if it's something over there or over there. But the harm to every immigrant is harm to every one of us. In this country,
every one of us except for Indigenous American Blacks, and that is why this woman is not for us. But keep listening.
we want to believe that the Constitution has protected us all, and in fact it has not. But that doesn't mean that we can't work to ensure that it does. In the Charlotte-Mecklenburg area, there are people standing behind me who have committed to ensure we are going to protect the people of this residence. We hope that includes all of you. From 2016 to 2020, I would go to hearings to stop deportations. And in those hearings, there would be no one there but myself and maybe two other people.
Now, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, right?
And the reason being is because real Americans such as myself is staying out of other people's business, as you should, woman, who's the president of the NAACP, I believe. Let me look her up to make sure it's present tense, because she might not be right now, but she is. Let me put her name in. Corinne Mack, Charlotte, North Carolina. Okay, she is a leader, or has served as a leader within many organizations, including U2U. What the hell is U2U? U2U. uprising to uplifting, bringing jobs, justice, equality, or equity, education, and opportunities to Charlotte communities. A collective effort to engage, educate, and empower. Okay, so this is an entity or organization related to what's going on in Chicago or Charlotte, North Carolina. And okay, that's just one other. It just seems like it might be Pan-African style. I don't know. There might be a little hint of Pan-Africanism in that. Doesn't really specify other than talking about Charlotte, North Carolina. But let me find another. I want to get her, what do you call it? Let me just get her information already. Pika, do you have something for her? Okay, so in addition to U2U, NAACP, NAACP State Conference, TWU Local 100, TWU International Executive Board, NC Black Leadership Caucus, PAC, Charlotte Clergy Coalition. She's a part of a lot of different organizations, but again, this woman has spent supposedly 50 years so-called advocating for equity and justice in work spanning from human and civil rights, workers' rights, and environmental justice. She attended George Meany School for Labor Law and Cornell Law School and has successfully represented and negotiated contracts for thousands of workers. She also worked for the Center for Community Change, building power with people of color to change their communities and their policies that impacted them. Again, she has transitioned from talking about our civil rights to talking about everybody's rights. And that right there is the whole entire problem, because all these immigrant groups have their own advocate agencies or entities, and also their nation, homelands, governments of where they come from. They come and negotiate with the president, with the Senate, with the Democrats or whoever's in power. They have an ear to the president. And it seems as if we're being erased from having any claim to our own voice and our own opinion, while they are siphoning our voices to claim they're including everybody else's voice alongside of us. But what it's doing, it's banning us from having a voice altogether. And then you have people that's talking reckless about us speaking up about our right to feel the way we feel about immigrants. We don't hate anybody, but we don't want immigrants taking over America. What is wrong with that? Anyone in anybody else's country would feel the same way. You would not want a whole flooding of unknown people to just come over and just take over everything pertaining to the country. You wouldn't want it done in your homeland. We don't want it done over here. And there's nothing wrong with us wanting to have Americans run our government and be able to have control and sovereignty from being taken over by other people from other places. And I believe that if Trump honestly did not come into office as quick as he did, I think that we would really have seen the very end of America as we know it. I mean, look at what's going on in New York now that mayor Zoran Manaman, whatever his name is, Zohan, the Indian guy from Uganda, who now is supposedly a communist, who wants to implement all these taxations on rich people to supposedly have free housing or rent or whatever he's trying to do, which is not going to work ultimately. But for him to just bogart, and he hasn't even been in America that long, and to be able to get great positioning as a mayor, it is very telling that we are in danger to being taken over. I look at different reports talking about Minnesota being taken over by Somalians. That's going on over there. We have other people, other immigrants that are running for positions of power. And when they get in, they make it all about their people, all about their home country, all about immigrants. They don't consider or even think about the Americans. They leave us the fuck behind. And that is what's going on. And Trump saw it for what it was. And, you know, I don't think that the man is doing anything that anybody else that loves their country would do. And I think it's the right time to do what he's doing. So I don't back what this Corinne Mack has to say in reference to these illegals. I applaud Trump for what he's doing. And I think that all of us as Black people should continue to stand down and stand out of the way of what Trump's doing. This woman is upset, apparently, that we're not riding with her for these immigrants. And I'm glad that we're not riding for them. Let's listen some more to this, and then I'm going to find another video to showcase about her. But she is upset, apparently, that Black Americans are not putting their neck out there rocking for illegals. And we're not. We shouldn't. That's the point. Please hit the like button. Don't be scared, y'all.
It mean that we can't work to ensure that it does. In the Charlotte-Mecklenburg area, there are people standing behind me who have committed to ensure we are going to protect the people of this residence. We hope that includes all of you. From 2016 to 2020, I would go to hearings to stop deportations. And in those hearings, there would be no one there but myself and maybe two other.
So she's saying from 2016 to 2020, she, as someone that's a representative of the NAACP, has gone to stop deportations of people that came over here illegally, who is competing and replacing and blotting us, the American people, out of their position to allow these illegals to have an opportunity to take our place. And this woman is confused that we are not there with her to support our undermining of our position here as Americans on the soil of America. This is what we got going on, y'all. This is why we need to get rid of the NAACP and support the defunding of the NAACP.
People. Now, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, right? What is the NAACP doing for Black folks? Right? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
They ain't doing a goddamn thing for the Black folks. Let's just look at an older video of hers that she did a while ago. We got the gist of where she's at today in that clip. And the gist of where she's at today is she's told on herself. She's letting it be known that she's not down for American people. She is down for everybody else but American people. So I found this video. This is a 10-year-old video. And let's see what she had to say 10 years or so ago, just to get an understanding of why this person is not for us today and why we should be for defunding the NAACP.
Good morning, everyone. And good morning to Mrs. Stevenson. I thank you for the invitation, as well as your entire committee. You've been a blessing to the community, and I really appreciate this opportunity. And so, my name is Corinne Mack, for those of you who don't know. I've been traveling over the state for some time, and recently got this position of president. And so let me tell you a little bit about myself. Just keep in mind, I am a minister, so I'm long-winded. Okay, so keep me in check. First of all, I'm number 12 of 13 children. My younger sister is here with me today. She moved down here 2 years ago, so I'm very thankful for that. But I'm originally from Harlem, USA. I am the proud product of union parents. Both my mother and father instilled in us at a very young age is our responsibility to give back. So my altruism comes from my parents. Believe it or not, I was very introverted as a child. I used to get beat up all the time because I was very skinny, and I attended a private school called Dalton School, which was a very prestigious school in New York City. And a lot of my African American sisters and brothers of the community thought I was better than them. So I got beat up a lot. And my younger sister used to fight for me. It was later on in years I realized that I had a responsibility to stand up for what was right. And so I didn't know the article would be so long when I saw the article. But yes, I believe that I should stand for what I believe in and be willing to die for what I believe in. And that's instilled in me from a very young age. So moving here to Charlotte after retiring from the New York City Transit Authority and TW Local 100, I realized that my job was not done. I began to see some of the atrocities, i.e. humongous unemployment. Going down to the men's shelter and having men tell me I'm invisible, nobody matters. Nobody cares, that I don't matter. Speaking to some of the women who had been separated from the children in their shelter because their children were 14 or 15 years old. Speaking to people at the lake centers at that time who had been unemployed for more than 2 and 3 years and just felt the spirit of despair. And so I had to come out of retirement. As a vice president in TW Local 100, one of the things that I am very proud of is the WEP program, the Workers Employment Program, where we took people off the welfare roll. And of course, in New York, we collectively bargained. I was the key negotiator there. And we took 5,000 people off the welfare roll, of which almost 4,200 stayed in the New York City Transit Authority. From the welfare roll to $39,500 as a cleaner in the New York City system. And the only criteria was to have good time and attendance for 1 year. That was it. So I came here, began to speak to City Council about the need for jobs. To be told by City Council, that's not our job. We don't get that. Well, I'm here to tell you that I am very strongly an advocate for those who need. And I think that economics is a key issue, not only in this city, but in the United States. And I will not sit quietly and speak for her. Which is why I ran for office. I wanted to be the advocate for people, not just African Americans. You can see I am an African American, right? But for people. So we are expanding our reach.
So she calls herself an African American. I definitely have never described myself as being that. I've never accepted being called African American. I thought that that was very disrespectful of what Jesse Jackson did in my teenage years when that term was imposed against our will without even asking if that's something that we want to do. That's something that he just decided to do. And she's carried forward that stain of a name that has caused so much confusion with Black Americans to date, because a lot of other groups of people have been trying to make us feel like we are something that we are not, claiming to be African, and we're not from Africa. We don't have anything to do with Africa. But because of that term, that made it easier for them to bring about confusion when they come over here and they try to like get in our ear, try to talk about our history, trying to tell who we are. The confusion is abound with that term. And this is why I denounced a long time ago when I heard the claim to be African American. I've only called myself Black American, and I continue today to call myself a Black American. But again, she says she was born and raised in Harlem, New York. Again, we do know that many immigrants have settled in New York. So I try to look her up to see if she had any immigrant background. And as of late, I couldn't find anything. So maybe she is, maybe she's not. I don't know. But her aura and her spirit is very dismissive to the plight of Black Americans. And she's letting it be known right here that she's for everybody. You can't be for everybody and yourself. I'm sorry. If you choose everybody, you are not choosing yourself. You are picking everybody over yourself. And it pays well for her to think about everybody because so many other sponsors and other people with millions and billions of dollars can get in her ear and give her extra money for what she's doing. But ultimately, she's making it easier for everybody to ignore the actual Black Americans that she's supposed to represent. And this is why the NAACP right now is being used as a tool to hold Black Americans down. Because when you hear someone like her speak at the podium and they claim that she's whatever she is of the NAACP, I don't know if she's still the president or not as of this year, but she's still affiliated with the NAACP. Nonetheless, her declaring my ancestor as being an immigrant when all this stuff is going on with deportations and basically using us as a shield for other groups of people, that's not what we need to have happen as advocacy for us in our plight. It does not work hand in hand. It actually works against our plight. And that's what I want y'all to understand when you listen to her speak. Again, I think that we all should be making calls and faxes and writings to the likes of this Corin Mack, to the likes of Trump, telling why he should consider defunding the NAACP, the Black Caucus, the Urban League, and all the others, because they're not a benefit to the people that they were supposed to be benefiting. Everybody else has their other advocate groups in other nations advocating for their people. We can't be having our people advocating for them too. And then we don't have advocacy when everybody's advocating for everybody else. And this is why we have a issue to date about the NAACP.
In our reach, our responsibilities as humans, because we all stand at the fork in the road. That fork in the road of humanity. And how are we going to respond? Which road are we going to take? The spirit of hatred, because of race, because of sexual orientation, because of lack of income, has to stop. We, especially those of us who say that we love God, know that God is love. And what does love look like? Love is compassionate. It's caring.
We are not Jesus, okay? And everybody likes to frame, if you are not for other groups of people, that you are somehow hateful, you're somehow working for the colonizer, or racist, and all these types of things. Again, discrediting and limiting our ability to have our own way of thought. Like the way I'm talking right now is not being uplifted by other groups of people. There's no organization sponsoring me. There's no leader that I have. This all comes from me, myself, and I, my own personal objective of thought and perception. And I am an American first. I've only known America. I don't think in my older years of living that all of a sudden I should drop the American flag and pick up a random strange flag from Africa or anywhere else, declaring myself something else at this point in time. Other people feel like we should do that. That is our duty to do. Those are Pan-Africans that talk and think that way, and other melanated people that do. But isn't it strange with all this talk about us going to Africa that they somehow omit telling Haitians and Jamaicans and other Africans to go when they have every reason to go, more so now than ever? I mean, look at how Haiti looks. Look at how Jamaica's looking right now because of that hurricane. Ain't no Pan-African, no time at all that I've been looking and observing since this happened has offered them the ability to go to Africa. Nobody has welcomed them, has said, hey, we have more than enough room over here in Africa for you Haitians to come, for you Jamaicans to come, for you Africans that are being deported in America or other places in America. Why don't y'all come over here? Why aren't you Pan-Africans saying one iota word to them to go to Africa? Why are y'all only obsessing over Black Americans going? Again, this is a wicked game that they are playing against Black Americans. I outed this thought a long time ago. This is the great replacement agenda that Pan-Africans and other melanated people have towards us as Americans. I knew in my heart of hearts that many immigrants and Pan-Africans are jealous of Black American status here in America. They don't like us having our birthright. They don't like us being protected by the Constitution with the Amendment 14 and 13 and 15. They don't want us to declare having our own autonomy and independence of thought, separate from other melanated people, because they need us in our bloodline for them to somehow make a way and stay stronger here in America. And if we go away, it makes it easier for them to stay. This is why they're trying to tell us to go. And this is why I've been so adamantly against Pan-Africanism, because I see it as a ploy to trick us out of our money, to scam us, to line us up, to fuck up our life and monies that we may have towards an idea that's not really the truth. And all this has come to pass. We see no Pan-African talking to Jamaicans specifically, to Haitians specifically, to tell them to go to Africa and build over there. No, they are not saying a word. In fact, they're on the side of them fighting for rights that they do not have here in America to stay, while telling us to go. That's how you know that we have a lot of enemies that are deliberately against the Indigenous Black American. And we have got to wake up and share videos such as this to wake their mindset up and get their mentalities right. Because again, we do not have any friends like that. We really don't. We have very few people that are living in their truth, that will speak truth power. Most people just want to use us up and spit us up, like I say, like overly chewed up gum, and spit us out as soon as they're able to do so. And I think it's time for us to do away with the Black Caucus, to do away with the NAACP, the Urban League, all the above. If they're not for us specifically, then they need to go. How do y'all feel about that? Do you guys think I'm tripping to feel this way? This is kind of a little bit of a vent, but it's also telling the truth. So let me now get back. There's so many other things that I want to show. I showed y'all a little clip of her years ago, 10 years ago, and she's advocating for everybody. And then we see her now in 2025, and what she's basically on is everybody else but Black Americans. Everybody has decided to betray us. That's what they've decided to do. Okay, now I want y'all to listen to this because it's about to be, oh, you know what? I actually did something earlier. I actually did the chat GTA, is it? Chat. And I asked the question to the chat GTA. I want to share what I asked. Okay. Okay, let me see. Hold on. Write anything. Why do everyone ask Black Americans to go to Africa, but not immigrants to go to Africa? I want to see what they had to say. I asked this question earlier today, and I want to read what it had to say. It was very interesting. It says that this is a complex and important question that cuts to the core of American history, race, and citizenship. The difference in rhetoric stems from the distinct historical and legal relationship of African Americans versus recent African immigrants to the United States. Here is an analysis of why the Go Back to Africa trope is uniquely directed at Black Americans, but not typically at recent Black immigrants. Let me see what it says. You said the admonition to go back to Africa directed at Black Americans is a deeply entrenched, historically racist trope rooted in the system of slavery and the subsequent denial of full citizenship and belonging. The ancestors of most Black Americans were first forcefully brought to the United States through the transatlantic slave trade. They did not immigrate voluntarily. For centuries, they were denied legal personhood and citizenship. The concept of go back implies they do not belong, despite their ancestors being foundational to the country's economic and physical development over 400 years. Colonization movement, the idea of sending Black people back was formalized in the 19th century through movements like the American Colonization Society, which sought to address the problem of free Black people by relocating them to a colony in Africa, Liberia. This was often supported by those who believed that Black and white people could not coexist peacefully, and the Black Americans could never truly be equal citizens. The trope as a claim of exclusion, when used today, the phrase seeks to delegitimize the entire Black presence in America It asserts that the United States is fundamentally a white space and that Black Americans, regardless of their birthright, are perpetual outsiders. And this is a claim made against a group whose citizenship was established by the 14th Amendment and whose entire history is tied to the United States. Think about how that would stir a lot of controversy and jealousy to know that all other groups that come are not tied to America, but we are. And they don't want us to be tied to America. So they're doing everything under the sun to discredit, to delegitimize, and to support and encourage us to seek to leave America. This is why all this talk by Pan-Africans telling us to go get citizenship, telling us to go build in Africa, telling us to go take risks and chances to buy land, do this, do that, all these other things that they're not asking of any other immigrant group to do. That's how you know that Pan-Africans are full of shit. That's how you know that immigrants that are steadily in America telling you to go to Africa don't give a flying fuck about you as a Black American. And this is what I've been preaching and teaching for a very, very long time. And people, again, are showing their fangs and their claws, and everything is starting to come out. But number 2 in this says distinction from recent African immigrants. Recent Black immigrants from Africa or the Caribbean have a fundamentally different legal and social standing, which makes the go back trope less coherent when directed at them, even though they are also targets of racism and xenophobia. While Black Americans face the specific historical trope, African immigrants are not immune to anti-immigrant sentiment. However, when racist and xenophobic rhetoric is used against a recent Black immigrant, it often takes a general form of go back to your country, a phrase used against many immigrant groups of color focusing on their immigrant status. That's why they want to liken us to immigrants by telling us to go back to Africa, by telling us that we are African, by telling us that we are next. After the immigrants are deported, then we're next. They want us to feel the same way that they're feeling. They want us to respond out of fear because they want us to be used for them as shields. Everything is about what can we do to utilize Black Americans for our benefit, for our upliftment. We just need their bodies. We need their voice. We need their votes. We need them stomping around and yelling and screaming and doing whatever they need to do to attract attention for us. Not to benefit them, not to preserve them, not to increase for them, but to use them and then discard them as need be. This is why there's no such thing as Pan-African can coexist in today's reality. It cannot coexist. It sounds nice on paper to say that you want to have a global unity with other melanated people and hold hands and sing songs and do dances around campfires and eat good food from all over the globe. Everybody shares a dish and gets to know the historical whatever. Sounds good. But when you look at different countries and where there are catastrophes that are happening, you will see the true nature of what's really going on. The Melissa hurricane, which ultimately did affect Haiti as well as Jamaica, is always kind of leaned more to be talked about in Jamaica's, devastation, not Haiti. And there was a video that I had saw. I don't think I could find it fast enough now, but it was saying that the Haitians were kind of upset that the Jamaicans were taking more credit as far as being the victim by the Hurricane Melissa. And they were kind of like being cut out of the conversation to not even be acknowledged as being also victimized by the same hurricane. And they were going back and forth. But this is what I mean. No Pan-African, no African country, not even in Burkina Faso, when a lot of people are trying to put him on a pedestal as being Jesus or something. After all this time, that man in Burkina Faso has not shouted out Jamaicans or Haitians to come to Burkina Faso to get away from the devastating effects of that hurricane. Dr. Eric Kana, who is so adamant about getting Black Americans to go to Burkina Faso and spend money and buy and purchase citizenship, which was a scam. And now all of a sudden it's a residency. But nonetheless, money towards something to Africa. Why isn't she reaching out to the Jamaicans, going to the government and saying, hey, we need people over here. We sure could use some of those people. Why don't they want them? Ericana is always squawking and yapping all damn day long about Black Americans needing to go back and do something about honoring ancestors and paying money for this and that and the other, but she has not a word for the Jamaicans and the Haitians. That just shows you time and time again how fake and phony the Pan-Africans really are. And they want us so that we can leave America to make more room for them to come to America. That's what they want. They want us to swap destiny with other Africans. They want us to go over there and worship Africa and live and die over there. They don't give a damn about us collectively, whether we thrive, whether we survive, whether we are uplifted and benefited. They want to be the ones in control over our destiny. A lot of these Africans that I've been listening to online have been showcasing their hatred because they don't have a say in our affairs. They don't have a say in what our monies will do and how we move and what we want to do, whatever. They're so obsessed over the notion of thought that they should be in control over us. They really feel this way. I mean, take a look at Afrodamus reports. Take a look. There's a couple of other Africans. I guess I could show them, but I'm just kind of ranting right now. But they have been so obsessed over us every day, no matter what's happening around the world. And there's so many other things that are happening that should cause them to shut up sometime and talk about other topics related to their own continent of Africa or their own country of origin in the Caribbeans. But they don't talk about their situation long because they're so consumed with what we're doing or not doing for them. That's what it all boils back down to. I'm so glad that Black African, what's his name rather? The Black, let me look him up. I should know his name. Alpha Network, Black Alpha Network. He definitely is going in and showcasing so many things about what's happening. I'm so impressed by him. Also, Afro Elite has really been doing a good job in exposing a lot of different things that's been going on. And from time to time, even Tariq Nasheed does. I just wish that he would kind of pull back on the rhetoric of jokes, because it's kind of fallen flat at this point. I don't think you can milk too many more jokes out of clowning immigrants at this point. I think that we should now transition to make it be known that we're not satisfied with things as is. We're not satisfied with the NAACP representing us in lies. We don't want them claiming that we're immigrants and telling us to shut up and listen to the plights of these immigrants that have nothing to do with my plight here in America. The fuck's going on? Hey, what's up, 13J Blueprint? How are you doing? Thank you for coming through. What's up, Sheena? Thank you for coming through. You said they have 24-hour marathons talking about us on TikTok. They are way too obsessed. It's on for real, you know, and I know that it is about our status. That's basically what it all comes down to. It is about our birthright that they don't have. Some of them that have their citizenship here, it is hanging on by the hair of the chinny chin chin for a lot of them, and they know it. And Trump, again, is working very hard to change a lot of things that's going on. And I can't front. I'm not against what Trump's doing. Like I said, if Trump was not in the place that he's in right now, my God, we would be really, really in a bad position right now. There would have been nothing that we could have done in the flooding of immigrants all over the place would have been here. But now let me get to this video. I haven't seen this video, but I thought it was a great title. And it kind of talks about the Black immigrants are denying our culture, but they are so fascinated with our delineation. They don't want our mentality to be fixated on us thinking about ourselves first, because a lot of some of the Black Americans have been tricked to believe that you're supposed to exalt Africans over yourself, which is really ridiculous. It is not what we're to do, and I hope that we won't. But this video comes from Mahogany Culture and Travel. First time catching this video, but it caught my attention. Let's take a listen to this real quick. If you guys haven't yet, please hit that like button. Please share and subscribe. Thank you.
Speaking out on the growing disrespect coming from some Africans, Caribbeans, and Black Latinos, and how they continue to not understand and dismiss our unique culture and history. Check it out.
Oh, baby, you hit the nail on the head. People took Pan-Africanism as Black people looking for an identity instead of viewing it as trying to be collaborative. That's 100% on point. And that's the reason, the issue that I've always had with Pan-Africanism is first of all, it doesn't benefit Black Americans at all. And it really created like this woe is me, lost orphan type of like view of Black America. Like we're just like looking for some type of identity, looking for some type of homeland, looking for somewhere to belong, or so to speak, I guess you could say. And that's the issue that I've always had with it, that it was never like, I don't think it ever really was empowering for Black Americans. I always felt like it was very disempowering to us, and it always made the rest of the Black people around the world feel like, oh, they're so sad that those Black Americans don't have a home, they don't have a culture, they don't have a country to go back to, they don't have a language. That's so sad. And it's like, nah, we not no cultural charity case. We not looking for no identity.
Black American delineation has nothing to do with anti-African, anti-Caribbean, or anti-other Black nations. It's about preserving culture, preserving inheritance, setting aside a particular group so that they are not forgotten. They don't want their ancestors, the sacrifice of their ancestors. They don't want the sacrifice of their people to be forgotten. You say that they don't have culture. You say that they don't have identity. And when they decide to set themselves apart, you say that they shouldn't. And no other culture is expected to absorb everybody else except Black Americans. You don't go to Jamaica and say, you got to accept us as Jamaican. You don't go to Haiti and say, you got to accept us as Haitian. Everybody else can have their identity, but when it comes to Black Americans wanting to set themselves apart, you say, oh no, you guys you're xenophobic, you're Zionist. No, stop gaslighting them. Are there some extremists? Yes. But that doesn't represent the whole group. It's important that this group is set aside because they do have an inheritance. They have a special tie to this land and a special history to this land, and they deserve that observation.
Y'all understand logically that Black Americans are Americans as a nationality, but you don't culturally understand it. Y'all don't culturally understand the difference, and therefore you struggle to actually grasp and be able to hold space for the complicated, contradictory nuances of that identity. And I'll use Catholic Carter as an example, but it goes beyond that. I don't really grasp what we mean when we say that our roots are here. Our roots, our culture being built here, our ancestors, literal blood, sweat, and tears in the very fabric of this land, of this country. So you often mistake what we're doing as patriotism when it's actually veneration, but it's by design. America wants you to think it's patriotism, and I'm going to tell you exactly how. Because our culture is actively stolen, appropriated, and erased, when it's finally acknowledged as such, the only tools or imagery that's really used to talk about it is that of the American machine. Where you're actively seeing our culture being erased and being used as an export, being used as marketed as just American culture. Hoodoo having to be hidden and shielded behind Christianity and the Bible. Juneteenth, once it's finally nationally recognized, has to be an American holiday. AAVE being talked about as a Southern accent. There's so many examples, right? And what you're actively seeing, what we're all seeing is our culture and history being actively erased and being told this is just American. So then we're told by Americans, right, this isn't your culture, it's American culture. And then everyone else tells us, oh, you're being patriotic when we do things that's actually ours. It's been a continuous cycle that has happened since our ancestors were forced to be enslaved here. Building a counterculture in the midst of an oppressive culture. The oppressors get a hold of it, take it for themselves, and then tell us it's not ours and make it theirs. And if it's not them stealing our culture, then it's something that our oppressors created, forced us to survive in, and we as a people had to find some sentimentality in it or make something from it. And a good example of that is Thanksgiving, right? We know Thanksgiving has genocidal roots, and it was also something where it would be the only time that enslaved Africans could commune together. So now there's some cultural sentimentality attached to that, even though we as Black people hate oppression. Contradictory as fuck. It was an enslaved Black man that learned this mac and cheese recipe, brought it back, flipped it, and reversed it, and now baked mac and cheese is a Black American staple, and we see a whole bunch of recipes on TikTok. Either way, anything we do, create, participate, and engage in is shadowed by this broader American machine that's damn near impossible to separate ourselves from, even when we try to distance ourselves from it. Because America makes it impossible, and the world, y'all, make that also impossible. You also see the erasure and engage in the erasure because you dilute it down to just being something American. Which is why there's a push for really mainly only us in the diaspora to find out where we're really from. Because being from America is an
The thing is, I don't know why people are still clueless that what you're looking for, you already live in. Like literally, we have no reason to be looking outside of America. Like, I don't get why there's so many people still trying to spin that narrative that we got to get to know ourselves. Why aren't y'all saying that to the Jamaicans and to the Haitians to get to know themselves? Why aren't y'all telling them to go back to Africa? Why aren't y'all claiming that they're lost? It's an agenda, y'all. It's been an agenda this whole entire time. And I'm so glad that we're now not afraid to speak the truth and shame the devil. And we don't care what immigrants say. So I remember Back in 2018, when I first came out and I started talking against Pan-Africanism, I got so many people claim that I hated Africans and I hated Africa. I hated myself. Like they could not fathom me speaking with my own mind about what I was saying, because it just sounded good to be on platforms declaring that we all brothers and sisters and we all love one another. And these people on these platforms are a part of different global organizations that are seeking to undermine us. And they've been doing it for years and years and years now. And if it wasn't for this delineation mindset, we would have been so clueless right about now. I think that God really wanted us to have some understanding of what's to come, and to put us in the mindset of delineation kind of preserved us for this moment in time right here, right now. That's why we're unfazed by the deportations, because we realized that we were never unified to begin with. These immigrants don't come over here wondering and worrying about bettering the hood, helping our culture, supportive of reparations or any other thing that's going to ultimately get us out of the rut that we're in. No, they want to capitalize and surpass us and pass us is what they want to do. They just want to play in our faces to keep us dormant and quiet. But delineation says speak out against claiming that you are nothing more than an immigrant and that you are what they say you are. It tells you to make it known with your mouth, with your actions, that you are not to be kept in a bubble. That's how they want to maintain us, if you let them, kept in a bubble, quiet and controlled. While all the while they utilize everything that our actual ancestors bled and died for. Think about that. We don't utilize anybody other ancestor. We don't claim their achievements, their historical whatever. No, they all come over here to America and do that to us. Like I've heard Joy Reid, who is from Congo, I believe from the Congolese or Congo, her declaring her ancestors helped build America. And everybody is claiming all of a sudden that Africans build America and that they're claiming those Africans that were sold. And we all know that not all were African that were enslaved here in America. We do know that Africans and Pan-Africans and other immigrants are fighting us tooth and nail on, but there were melanated people already a part of this soil for hundreds of years that were deliberately and purposely misclassified into these abstract labels such as colored, mulatto, Negro, then Black, and then African American. Through all that time of changing of all these different names, it was all different races of people that had merged to be what we are today. And people want to try to put us in one category that's controllable and call us African, because the Africans in Africa, again, want to seek out to have dominion over us. Not respect of us having our own agency of intellect, of thought, of survival, and our own will as humans, you know, separate from being slaves again. They want us back in the frame of mind that we are slave-like, that we belong to them. And this is what I've been talking about. But talking this way doesn't get a whole lot of support, because a lot of people want me to sound nice and cuddly, but the truth is not cuddly. It's the truth. You see how they're moving with trying to talk about our reparations towards Africa. Nobody invited them to represent our reparations, and also talking about going towards Africa. Who said that? They did, minus us. But they included us at the African Union, so-called, we call it the Region 6. You got Ghana running around, linking up with other organizations, talking about our reparations towards Africa against our will. And people are still confused and thinking that Africans are still for us. I'm not saying all Africans are against us. I'm talking about the ones that are speaking out, the ones that are elitists, like Ericana. The ones that are in power are definitely not for us. All of them are working hand in hand with colonizers and globalists to try to undermine us and undercut us and take from us and leave us with absolutely nothing. I'm not talking about the Africans that are living day to day, trying to seek a better life on their land, and they're going through whatever they're going through. They're not thinking about us. They're thinking about survival. They're in their own little world, doing what they need to do to survive. So I'm not accusing them. I'm accusing the ones that are calling themselves advocating on our behalf. I'm accusing the ones that are most boastful about who they think we are and what we need to be doing for them. It's like they took all the blame and placed it onto Black Americans as the reason why Africa's failing, instead of looking themselves in the mirror and saying, y'all could have stopped all the stuff that y'all were doing for all these years and stayed your ass home and made a go at it in your own homeland. They don't want to accept the fact that they all fled and they never looked back to help their own continent or country out. They want to look at us and say it's because of y'all being over here nice and cozy, not having the worry of the world on your shoulder as you should, because we say so. We want to scapegoat y'all, just like every other group does when they come to America. Everybody got Black Americans in their mouth, because there's no consequence, like I said a long time ago, for people coming after us. There's no consequence. Everybody gets away with scandalizing our name, our history, our legacy. I mean, even the people that supposedly sold Negroes, because they weren't called Africans. They were never labeled Africans until in the 1700s when someone came over here. I believe it was Prince. What's his name? The one that had the secret society, Prince Hall. I believe him or someone connected to that came over with the name African and attached it in our history just so that it was there. Because it was never, ever seen until then. We were only called Negroes. And then now the narrative is all about this Africa business. Nobody asked us about our opinion about how we feel, though. Everybody's assuming that they should be able to dictate to us how we're to perceive our purpose in life. And if it's not about what they say, which is Africa, then somehow there's something wrong with us. Nobody has the right to come after anyone. Nobody, and tell them what to think. Yet people all over the place think it's commonplace to come to Black American spaces and demand to be included into anything that we think on or what we talk about. And we're seeing that happening on social media. So we see the truth is in the pudding. There's something very, very demonic going on with these other groups of people. And they don't have the right spirit to even be hanging out with us like this. They don't give a damn about us. And I'm going to continue to tell this truth in hopes that others will get the message and understand that we are on our own. All we should be able to do is kind to detach ourselves from people that were attached to us, like the NAACP, the CBC, the Urban League, and all these other groups that are failing us now should not have the right to represent us and declare that they're speaking for us when they call us immigrants. That's what I have to say. You said, I follow Masi. She is half Nigerian and Indigenous Black American. She has good content. What's the name of her channel, Sheena? I don't think I ever heard of her. You said those are the questions we need to ask. Exactly. SB 515 bill passed in California for us. Let me read that. I think I heard of that before. Hold on for a sec. Had to get the fan off of me. It was making my voice get all cracked up. SB 515 California. Okay, it says California Senate Bill 515 chaptered in October 2025 requires California local government, cities, and counties to collect more detailed demographic data on specific Black or African American subgroups when hiring employees starting January 1st of 2027. The bill aims to improve the accuracy of data collection for these groups to help with policy planning and resource allocation, while also protecting individual privacy. It is considered a matter of statewide concern, and the state will reimburse local agencies for any mandated costs, including according to policy engage in Bill Track 50. I don't know. I think it's just something that they want us to believe that they're really going to do down the line. I don't know why it's got to be so hard to just say we are Indigenous American Blacks or FBA. Why is it so hard for them to just go and accept what they're hearing? Because there's so many other people that is adamantly against us having control over our own identity. That's what it all boils down to. So many people are against us declaring our own identity because there's power in you naming yourself. There's power with you having boundaries over who you will accept. Just think about all the people that have utilized Blacks thus far. You had the Rachel Dolezal, who pretended to be Black for years until she was outed. Now she went back to being a white woman recently. I believe Tariq Nasheed today talked about her. Then you have like Barack Obama, who is not from our lineage, claimed to be the first African-American president. You had Kamala Harris, who is not of our lineage. She has a Jamaican father and an Indian mother. Her declaring to be an African-American. So we see that the African-American term has been hijacked. And there has never been a benefit of us receiving that title. It's been used for everybody else to benefit off of our title. And we kind of like get stuck in a corner. And that's why the delineation is here for those that are confused. It's not about thinking we are better than anyone or being racist or xenophobic. It's about us. It's about preserving a people and not confusing who those people are. We are a distinct group of people that are only aware of America. We don't have immigrants from our family. And we should be like recognized here in America over immigrants because we are of the soil. So it only makes sense to recognize the people of the soil. You can't just switch them out 500 years later and include other melanated groups as being the new face of black. But that's what these immigrants and Pan-Africans and other Africans have in mind to do. They think it's good and it's fair to switch us out of our own position here in America and for them to have the face of blackness in America. That's why they are mad. This is why the delineation has really gotten demons up out of people to perform and act a fool. Because they never thought in a million years that we would ever dare identify ourselves and speak truth to power on what we've seen and what we hear. And I think, honestly, the delineation was helped by the deportation because it also made it easier for us to bring up these topics right now. It makes it a whole lot easier to bring up these topics. Now let me get back to this conversation because there's somebody else. I wanted to show a little bit of the Haitians. Like I said, the Haitians, I feel sorry for the Haitians. I feel sorry that, this is their plight. But again, what's wrong with inviting Haitians to go to Africa is what I'm trying to understand. I don't understand why nobody's inviting Haitians and Jamaicans to go to Africa. If it's good for us, why is it not good for them? Can y'all please help me understand why they don't think it's good for them to go? Because, the Haitians being displaced by violence, they are facing deportation after fleeing to Dominican Republic. And the PBS is talking about the Haitians. And again, I don't care what Corinne Mack or any other representative of the NAACP says, we are not immigrants. And we should feel insulted, very insulted, that she dare classify us as that.
The UN says 1.4 million Haitians, more than 10% of...
Hold on, it's too low. Let me find another. Hold on, I'm going to talk about this and then I'm going to run. But yeah, we are not immigrants. I don't give a damn what anyone has to say about it. They can get mad all they want. They're going to have to stay mad. Hold on, what happened to this? What in the world? Okay, that was one day ago. PBS. But everything is happening all at once. And everybody that is a Democrat are very, very upset right now about how all these deportations are happening and nobody is out there stomping down for them. And it's, again, it's not our place. It's not our plight. I wish that they would understand that it is what it is, We're not putting our neck out there on the line for anybody, though. Okay, here we go.
The UN says 1.4
Hold on.
The UN says 1.4 million Haitians, more than 10% of the country, have fled their homes because of violence and instability. Many have crossed the border to neighboring Dominican Republic, but there they live in fear and limbo. 200,000 have even been deported back to Haiti. As part of our ongoing series on border security around the world, fellows from British Columbia University's Global Reporting Program visited the island and have this report as told by our Ali Rogan.
These cattle cars have been modified to hold dozens of migrants at a time. The Dominican Republic has ordered up trucks like this to roam the streets of towns and the countryside, filling up every day with Haitian migrants. In one of them, we met a young man named Caleb who told us he came to the Dominican Republic to work construction.
It's wrong. It's wrong. All this time that we've been here, we've been going through misery, working for nothing, working for a house to live in. How is it that I'm in jail without an arrest warrant, without having done anything?
This sweep in the Dominican Republic is part of a response to escalating gang violence and economic instability across the border in Haiti, which has escalated steadily since the assassination of Haiti's president in 2021. Last September, at a UN address, Dominican President Luis Abinader pledged that his country would not fall victim to the pressures from the crisis in Haiti.
The instability in our neighboring country has put significant pressure on our own security.
President Abinader fortified and expanded a border wall and pledged to round up 10,000 Haitians every week to secure his country from undocumented migrants. The border town of Dajabon has been the epicenter of the deportation efforts. The town's market is one of the only places Haitians are allowed to enter legally to buy and sell products. But they must leave the same day over this heavily monitored bridge. Armed Dominican border police stand guard, and there have been several incidents of violence against Haitians at this market.
It's a security issue. In Haiti, there are gang members. There are people who maintain anarchy in that country.
Farmer Santiago Rivaron is the mayor of Dajabon and has been aggressive in his stance against undocumented Haitians, even taking to the streets to violently round up sleeping migrants on his own. But while the volume of deportations back to Haiti may have skyrocketed, the border remains porous. Many migrants are known to cross back into the Dominican Republic across this river, and it's an open secret that a bribe can...
Obviously, the Haitians are looking for a new home, and most of them don't dare mention Africa. Is it xenophobic for the Haitians not to want to go to Africa? Why aren't the Pan-Africans telling the Haitians, telling Jamaicans, telling the Caribbeans if they're having difficulty in their own home country to go to Africa? Why is it only reserved for Black Americans? It's only reserved for us is because they want us not to be who we've been, which is Black Americans. That's the key word. They don't like us claiming to be American because in their mind, we are living in the first world country. We are being treated better than they are in their own homelands. They feel that they are deserving of our treatments and our status without our history. They want to get what we got without the blood, sweat, and tears. They feel like they are deserving to have it just because they showed up. And that's what I'm against. Nobody shows up anywhere and gets advantage over the people of the country in any other country. They should not be able to do that over here in America. And the Democrats and the Pan-Africans are on the side of them being able to show up and do that. That's why, again, we have to recognize our enemies. And unfortunately, our enemies are the people that represent us. That's the whole point of this video. Sheena says we are supposed to be identified as American freedmen. Oh yeah, that's right. That was another title. That should only be reserved for the people, as you say, that were a part of that lineage. And the immigrants are so mad that we have anything to separate ourselves from them because they want the opportunity to be able to just dip into what we have accomplished in our lifetime, in our historical legacy of history. They want to just show up and say, I'm black too. I should be able to get what they got. No, it doesn't happen nowhere else. But these people are insane to think that we should be on the side of that mindset. We're not on the side of that mindset that you just fucking showed up and that you're supposed to get the goods. Because you showed up, you appeared. It doesn't work that way. I'm sad for the Haitians and the Jamaicans. My best suggestion to them is to take on the advice of Pan-Africans and go to Africa. You can start with Burkina Faso. You can go to Ghana. Unfortunately, it might not be that easy because Ghana has been rounding up people lately. Let me show y'all. Ghana deportations. They have an agreement with the America. Deportation. Let me see. All right, let me show a little clip of this. This was just a week ago. West Africans were moved from a hotel under U.S.-Ghana agreement. So even if you believe that Ghana is Pan-African, again, when it comes down to money, when it's all said and done, they're really not. And this video lets it be known that they're not.
A Sierra Leonean woman, among more than 20 West African nationals awaiting deportation, was forcibly removed from her hotel room by officers of the Ghana Immigration Service at the Visum Hotel in Ogbojo, a suburb of Accra. The deportees, who were scheduled to be repatriated to their respective countries, reportedly refused to comply with the deportation directive, prompting the intervention of immigration officers. On Tuesday, November 11, 2025. The woman, said to be a registered nurse who had lived in the United States for 35 years, reportedly pleaded with the officers to allow her to remain in Ghana, explaining that she had no relatives in Sierra Leone. Her appeal was declined, and she is said to have suffered an asthma attack during the confrontation. Information gathered by City News indicates that the deportees were brought into Ghana as part of arrangements with the United States. The Ghana Immigration Service has yet to issue an official statement on the incident.
Like I said, Pan-Africanism is nothing more than a ploy. Ghana has an agreement with the United States to deport those West Africans from Ghana. They're gone. They're going to get deported back to their home, whether they have not been there for 30, 40 plus years or whatever. It does not freaking matter. Money matters. That's all that matters to these Africans. These elites don't give a damn about you nor I. They're just using us in our namesake towards an agenda to try to undermine and take from us and claim that it's called unity. And that's why they need to have as many Black Americans go over there and buy their citizenship or purchase land or build a house. Any tie towards them is a tie that they're trying to apply to us all. That's why they need to utilize as many Black Americans as possible to be able to be used as pawns for later. And this is what I have been warning my people against Ghana. They don't give a damn about you. They only want to use you because you're closer to the powers that be. And through you, they can maneuver you as a pawn to get grants and get monies and get this agreement and this and that and the other by utilizing your body, by utilizing the numbers of them that go to Ghana and all these other things. Because if it wasn't so, then you would see a flooding of Haitians and Jamaicans to Ghana. You would see other floods of Africans flooding to Ghana, not being deported. It would be universally accepted to accept anyone, receive anyone that's melanated for the sake of so-called Pan-African. But since that's not what they're doing, that just lets you see the lie that they're spinning and telling to us. And there's so many other things that I could say, but I don't want this video to be as long as it normally is, because I hope to come back Sunday and talk more about the hate of these African content creators, again, such as Afro Think Tank, or not Afro Think Tank, but Afrodamus, also Afro Think Tank, who is supposedly a Black American, but is always talking down against us delineating. Anyone that's against us delineating, I have an issue with. Anyone that thinks that they should be able to have a say on who we call ourselves, that's not us, I have a problem with you. Anyone that declares that Africa is our name or home and we're African and all that kind of talk because you're a Pan-African, you're my enemy. I don't give a damn about you. Don't think that I have a care in the world about you as well. I don't. Because you don't think that we should be having our own will and our own agency to self-determine our own purpose in life. You think that you should be able to craft in us what our purpose should be, and it's about another landmass that we're not even at, and we don't even want to go. So you're all my enemies. And people that are riding the fence, sometimes O'Shea wants to talk against Pan-African talk, and then I hear a couple of lines here and there where he's talking about fake Pan-African talk. You got to choose a side. O'Shea, Duke Jackson, and all the other people that talk delineation and then Pan-Africanism. They don't coexist together. They cannot coexist together. Because delineation is still ongoing until there is a definitive cutoff of immigrants from our affairs, from our purpose and our likeness and our thoughts and our aspirations, our plight. We are not to stop until it's done. You can't have energy to delineate and to have a Pan-African spirit. It doesn't exist. They don't coexist together. We got to know who we are as a people of America so that we can finally get the Pan-African lie from our whole mentality altogether. I'm so glad I never knew of Pan-Africanism until 2018, but I see how detrimental it is against us as a whole to hold on to the thought of universal Blackness and unity. Show me where it's being utilized right now, besides Burkina Faso talk. By the way, Burkina Faso, the president, Toure, there was almost a coup a few days ago. There was another attempted coup. It's like almost 20 times for the last few years that there's almost been a coup. So he's forever going to be fending off coup attempts. And again, I think that it's best for us to mind our own affairs and get the people that are not rocking for us any longer out of our space and out of our affairs and stop representing us. I think that we all should write a letter to the NAACP and to Trump and say, hey, while you're doing all these deportations, could you make mention to officially delineate the immigrants from the American blacks, the indigenous American blacks, not the first generation or second generation. They have their ties to their home country. We want the people to be determined to be one thing that has no immigrant background, so that we do not be misrepresented by other groups of people. That's what we're going to have to do for this new push. It's good that he's doing a good cleaning up of who's who, making the conversation easier for us to have, making it more pronounced now that these things are going on. And the lies can't stand as is, as easy. That's why the Karen Mac look ridiculous talking about we're immigrants when all these deportations are happening right now in North Carolina and everywhere else. And it's only affecting the immigrants. Yet she still wants to hold on and cling on to this notion that we're immigrants when the truth reveals the truth. We're not. But the point is, we got to make our voices more loudly heard. We got to stand up and let it be known that we're not happy with what these people representing us are saying and doing. I don't want to leave the impression that we are content with what they're doing, because we're not. We shouldn't be. You said they are upset and they say we think we are better than them. We don't say we're better. We're saying we're different. We're saying that we're of this soil and you are not. That's the truth. We are of American soil. They are not. They came over here willfully years upon years later. They're not the same as us because they're not from the soil. That's not saying we're better. It's saying we're different. And unfortunately, we have too many people that's trying to rig the narrative to make it seem like we are everything else but telling the truth. And the only way that you can withstand liars like these that are all over the place surrounding us like they are, because we have so many of these enemies, because they're from so many different backgrounds, we have to stand up in unison and say, we're not accepting this bullshit from none of y'all. So I want to see more of these conversations happening on social media. And I think that right about now, Black Alpha Network should be on, because he's a really good person to listen to. Yeah, he just started. So yeah, let's take a listen to Black Alpha Network. He's on right now. I'm going to go now. I appreciate everybody for coming through. If you have not yet, please hit that like button. And if God is willing, I'll try to be back on Sunday. God bless. Bless up.